Hello everyone. We are back with our next panel. So we have Ankur Pava, partner at EY. We have Rajiv Suri, managing partner at Orios Venture Partner, and we have Vasha Tagare, managing director at Qualcomm Ventures. So we have an amazing panel lined up today, and which will be moderated by Ankur. Over to you, Ankur.
Thanks so much, Ganesh, and a pleasure to be here. I think this is a fantastic topic, and I think very much relevant for the times as it looks at right now. I think, and it's a pleasure to have Rajiv and Varsha, to chat with on this topic as well. I'm just going to share my screen. Just wanted to quickly go through one or two slides, which just talks about broadly what the ecosystem currently looks like, and and what some of the trends have been, and also the size of the pie as it stands for this area, and then we can dive into a conversation with both Rajiv and Varsha. I think clearly, if any, this is a perfect storm moment. We've seen what's happened with the entire digitization journeys of companies over the last 2 years. I think the acceleration has just been phenomenal, and as newer and newer business models, have come forward, I think the pace of organic innovation is also challenged. Yet, as new business models emerge, I think clearly the need to partner, and really the question of invest versus innovate is now becoming more and more important. We've really seen, especially in the Indian ecosystem, but also globally, consolidation as a theme is really picking up quite rapidly. Right, we've seen in India as well. If you look at both with traditional businesses, like Tata's and the Reliance, etc., they've been acquiring a lot of these new age businesses. New age businesses themselves are looking to expand quite rapidly, really to build both financial scale, but also really focus on expanding core services and really building a stronger network both in India and globally. And I think there's also now clearly a greater participation in the Indian ecosystem from an investing point of view, where we had the traditional VCs. That landscape has significantly expanded with a lot of foreign investors coming into India. A lot of local new investors have actually come in as well. With ultra HNIs, seeing what's happened in the startup ecosystem with some of the IPOs and some of the exits that we are seeing. We are seeing unicorns themselves becoming investors and creating some of their own investing arms to be able to get a thin edge of the wedge, so to speak, into newer areas, and really look to see how they can capture large parts of the ecosystem early, and be more relevant as things stand. Traditionally, we've seen sectors like tech, deep tech, enterprise tech really being areas where investments have happened. But now you're seeing much more broadening of investments, especially on the CVC side, with some of that going into consumer tech, fintech, etc. as well. And I think while it's still early days, clearly the ecosystem across many of these is picking up. So I think really it's now no longer a choice, but I think it also boils down to being relevant, especially in such an expanding ecosystem, and especially as Indian companies are also now going global in many ways, building for global businesses. All the more important to see how the CVC ecosystem can actually play a much larger part, in this entire ecosystem. Just looking at some numbers, and I must admit, when I was putting this together, while there are global numbers available, numbers are not that easy to find for the Indian ecosystem. But let's just talk through numbers. Globally, in the first half of 2021, it's about $79 billion have been invested by CVCs, across the globe, 2,100 odd deals. And interestingly, a lot of these deals, have also been on the plus 100 million, round size type investments, clearly indicating that, it's not just early businesses that people are looking to invest, especially at a global level, but also a lot of late stage businesses that are currently being invested in. And some of the reasons that we spoke about on the earlier slide really are probably some of those drivers, in terms of where it sits between how tightly intertwined that business or the intention for that business is with the the strategy that the company has. US has always been really ahead on the CVC side. For many years, it's nothing new that you see that 50% of global CVC investments are actually in the US. So about $40 billion of the investments of the total 79 billion have actually been in the US. And I think another interesting element when you start to see the maturity of the ecosystem and how typical VCs and CVCs actually come together. If you look at the total investments that have happened in the US in the first half of 2021, about 25 to 30% of those actually are, either CVC led or CVC backed, which clearly, just shows in terms of the size and the maturity the ecosystem has, and how really VCs and CVCs are actually coming together and playing an important part in expanding that ecosystem. India, it's been about a $2 billion sort of investment in the first 6 months of the year. Approximately about 50-55 deals make up this 2 billion. And again, the reason that this number is high in some ways, while it's probably less than 10% of the total VC investments in the same period. You take away a lot of the large deals that have happened in the unicorns, businesses like Byju's or Swiggy, where folks like Naspers, for example, have invested. The size of the investments, if you take some of these large rounds, is probably less than 500 to 700 million dollars, which is small relative to the size of the ecosystem and really the pace, at which investments in general are happening. Again, I'll caution people who are looking at these numbers. Given the fact that numbers are not easily available, you should use this as an indicative trend, especially because a lot of CVCs, a lot of corporates, etc., are also using a fund investment route to address this market, and that data obviously is not captured here. Just again, a quick snapshot of global investors. We've got Varsha here, and Qualcomm has obviously been, doing this quite well across the globe and also in India for many years. Google Ventures, Microsoft, M12. I think they've obviously been very, very active. Coinbase, interestingly, both in India and globally, started to aggressively invest in the startup ecosystem. They've done many investments in India as well. So again, I think there is a mix of investors that are really coming in here, and I think that the ecosystem is only broadening. If you see towards the right, with the point I was making earlier, a lot of the Indian new age businesses themselves are looking to set up venture sort of businesses within the Lada system. So Dream Sports has done it. Lenskart has announced it. Flipkart Ventures, we know, operates as an entity which is investing in minority stakes. So I think the ecosystem is certainly evolving quite rapidly, as things stand, both domestically as also the interest that is coming in from overseas investors. I think we'll just quickly summarize with this, and I'd just love to dive into this with both Varsha and Rajiv. I think this is really a here and now moment. While there is a lot of intention around the objectives of how CVC have been operating, really getting more frontline insights, trying to create synergy and use those businesses, from an ecosystem play point of view. Sometimes it's about talent, sometimes it's about technology. But I think really the important part is there certainly have been challenges which have sort of hampered what the potential the ecosystem has. Certainly, I think the agility that's needed in the current market, the speed of deal making, given the type of transactions, the valuation that you're seeing, obviously come into more prominence when you think about the financial investor versus a strategic investor. A lot of time, obviously, outside of the competitive nature of these deals, the experimentation versus what it actually results in, the experience, the learning experience versus the actual experience on the ground. How does it translate into creating broader value? Are certainly challenges that we should look to address within this. So with that, let me just dive straight into an engaging conversation both with Rajiv and Varsha. Rajiv, let me start by asking you. I mean, I know you've always said that this is really the zeitgeist moment, for CVCs. If not now, then when really? What do you think is really shaping this trend, and how do you see this evolving over the next 12 to 18 months?
Thank you, Ankur. Absolute pleasure to be here. I'm hoping that I'm audible and all that good jazz. So delighted to be a part of the forum. We at Orius run a VC fund which has invested in more than 100 startups, has an AUM of almost 2,000 crores, and are proud about the 3 unicorns in our portfolio that have already been created: Ola, Dhruva, and Farmeezy, and now 3 more in the making with Country Delight, Go Mechanic, and Zupi. So in the next 18 months. So delighted. I'm told that the audience here represents treasuries of corporates. I'm wearing a 3-cornered hat today. I'm sure you're thinking Harry Potter and the sorting hat. I've been in large blue chip corporates such as Colgate, Infosys, and Reliance Jio. I've been a tech entrepreneur, And finally, I'm now here as a venture capital fund representing the IVC, the Indian Venture Capital Association, and the ecosystem. So these are the three hats I'm wearing today. Ankur, this is really a zeitgeist moment for the CVC ecosystem because it's actually a zeitgeist moment for the startup and the VC world itself, right? And there are two broad, themes that are sort of coming together, right? So first, I think the first theme is that COVID has essentially empowered technology to be the disruptor of every industry. So I think in the last couple of years, if you look at what has happened, the consumer has gone rapidly digital. I mean, I think something that was said earlier was basically that, and your slides also alluded to it, what would have taken India 5-6 years of digitization have now been compressed into a 3-month or a 4-month window during the lockdowns. Right? And I think that compression has changed the profile dramatically. So that has happened, and industry has obviously needed to keep pace. So I would put industries and companies into two buckets: the slow bucket, which is basically companies that have been marooned by tech, and the fast ones that are obviously zooming in on tech, right? So since tech-based companies are literally doubling every year, their valuations are increasing, coupled with the money flow from the markets through the IPOs that we are seeing now in the public markets and the ocean of foreign liquidity that's pouring in, we are now in a sustained bull run in the startup technology valuations. This by itself is a good story for treasuries to invest. The returns are simply way better than what you would get elsewhere, particularly with depressed, I think debt interest rates. I think right now the US Treasury 10 years are at 1.44 or something, right? So that's one of the reasons. The second reason has to do with why tech is such a disruptor, right? I think tech harnesses the power of data, and that's what makes it so powerful as a disruptor, right? A small example: one of our startups, PharmEasy, now is 10 times larger than its next competitor. So it has the biggest knowledge base of Indians, health and medical histories, and what they consume from pharma and services, what their prescriptions say. And now with ThyroCare, they're also into diagnostics. Now, PharmEasy can leverage this kind of knowledge. For instance, provide healthcare plans and insurance, right? So one can see why they can double or triple their revenues every year, and also cause a disruption across industries. And the lines between industries are blurring. So I think that's the second reason that we are looking at. So this brings up why large corporates should be interested in corporate venturing at all. Sure, they have innovation teams that focus on short-term innovation and long-term innovation. So that's something that I've seen in my corporate life itself. But what about innovation that blindsides them completely from coming from a completely different industry, right? Should you have a foothold in those? Should you know what's happening in those spaces? Well, getting to know those kinds of blindsiding innovations is perhaps what these startups might give them an edge on. So that, I think, is the broad context of why this is such a zeitgeist moment for the CVC ecosystem in the country. Thank you.
Thanks, Rajiv. No, absolutely. I think clearly, I agree with you. I think this is here and now, and some of the disruption that we've seen, it is no longer about an option. It is to stay relevant and to really, accelerate. This is going to become an important choice to make. Varsha, thanks also for joining us. Qualcomm's obviously been investing, across the globe in this system for a fairly long time. You've obviously, had a fantastic innings in India as well with some of the investments, that you've had, as have actually many of your peers traditionally who also, been investing in India. As I said earlier, started out a large part of this was tech investors, and now the ecosystem is a lot more broader. Yet, if you see the data, and again, I'm going to qualify the data. His data does have its challenges here, but when you look at the data, clearly the direct investment side, of CVCs doesn't appear to be that high or that impactful from a value point of view, as compared to what we see in some of the global players and global markets as it stands. Certainly, the ecosystem maturity is one reason for it, and I think the entire startup ecosystem where it stands today and where it stood 5 years back or a few years back, in fact, is very different. What do you think really are elements from a CVC perspective that you look forward to with the ecosystem that exists today, and really as you are a global business in every possible way, and India really is many Indian companies are shaping up to be global businesses. How do you as Qualcomm see this entire CVC ecosystem evolving?
Thank you, Ankur, for the opportunity. Great to be here. I'm part of Qualcomm Venture, and Qualcomm Venture's charter is to invest in the overall umbrella of mobility. We're a very sector focused investor, and hence I think this will answer some of your questions as well. Corporate venture capitalists tend to invest in specific sectors, they don't tend to be generalist. So, as an example, for Qualcomm, we invest in all things related to mobility, whether it comes to 5G infrastructure or applications. things that are coming on the grid like IoT and auto, enabling technologies like applied AI and security. So, from our lens, this year, if we look at some of the deals that we've announced in India, a deal called Boat, which is one of now a number five global brand for wearables and hearables in India. Another company called Locus, which is a last mile routing company for logistics. So, as I look at our landscape and I look at some of my co investors in the CVC community, what you see in India is the deal flow today is still very broad based. It's not necessarily deep in a particular sector. And hence, you will see CVCs investing in their sectors tends to be spotty. It's not yet uh, as generalized as you'll see in a mature market like US. However, if you look back, I started my journey in India through Intel Capital. We had very few CVCs in India at the time. And what you see today, the names are much, much larger and a broader set of universe. Companies that are invested in consumer internet, companies that are interested in deep technology like Qualcomm is. So you will see a broader deployment of capital in India through these CVCs. However, the sector focused nature and a thesis focused nature will always come in the way in terms of number of deals that you see from the generalist VC community versus the specialist CVC community. Ankur.
No, absolutely, Varsha, makes sense. But I'm just going to extend the same question I asked Rajiv as well. And so do you really see this accelerating a lot more now? I mean, the general nature of newer investors aside, clearly there is a lot of interplay between multiple technologies, right? I mean, we talk about mobility, but if you think about the broader side, there are so many other elements that interplay or interface with just that one segment. You spoke about internet. Now you think about embedded finance within most consumer internet businesses. That's getting broader. So do you see the acceleration in general from a CVC perspective, changing manifold now versus what it has been, in the tradition, few years?
Absolutely. I think there's a lot more interest in India, as well as a lot more interesting companies are now forming in various areas of focus. So we are definitely optimistic and quite bullish on the number of companies that we'll see out of India. Ankur, what you're also seeing are companies from India now getting set up in the US. And so I don't know whether your data counts some of those, but you will see corporates investing in companies that have a cross border presence. So you will see capital going into both domestically focused companies as well as companies that are focusing on the global world. So we definitely see an upswing in the investment dollars as well as activity across the CVCs.
Understood. No, thanks for that. Thanks for that, Varsha. Rajiv, again, just I guess Varsha has addressed some part of it, but about the maturity of the ecosystem. But as I was alluding earlier, I think the US, 25-30% of total VC investments are CVC led or CVC backed, as appropriate. And that's secular across the board, be it early, be it late, be it the mega deals, $100 million plus deals, there. Well, whether 100 million is mega in the US is a question in itself, but I'll just keep an Indian relative comparison and keep the lens the same there. So much larger than in many other ecosystems, I guess have that. We are currently much smaller, and again, I will take the larger unicorn deals out of this, and when it boils down to maybe 500-700 million dollars. So the numbers are suggestive of low investment. It certainly has to do with the maturity of the startup ecosystem. But what do you think needs to get done to be able to really ramp this up and amplify this fairly quickly? Because as a VC as well, you certainly would see a lot of value, from the CVC sort of partnering with you. And if you look at some of the exits that have happened globally as well, to the point of treasury returns, some of the CVCs have made stellar returns, financial exit, just based on the listings and the liquidity they've been able to create on selling, those in the public markets. So how does the impact increase, and how does the VC CVC interplay sort of create a stronger impact in the Indian market?
A great question, Ankur. And I think the answer to that has to do with the, as you said, the relative difference between the American and the Indian markets as well. If you look at the VC industry itself, it's not more than 10, 12 years old in India, right? Our first unicorn came out, I think, in 2009 or 2010. So I think, that itself, I think, is,
2010 in Modi, yeah, that's right.
there you are. So it's a little bit of that. And I think there was a stat, I think I read somewhere that, in America, since 1995, less than 0.5% of the companies that were funded in America were funded by VC VC funds, and that 0.5% is now accounting for something like 3/4 of the market cap of the American capital markets, right? That sort of tells you how much of maturity that exists in countries like America. So that's there. But that said, though, I think we are at an inflection point in India for the first time, and I think this is the first time in India's last 300-year history that I'm looking to, right? I think we are talking with the British and the aftermath, right? What has happened, and I think the inflection is really that Indian markets and Indian financial markets are now center stage, and this changes the dynamics for the CVC investing community quite significantly, right? First of all, look at the slew of IPOs, right? A lot of these IPOs are listing in India, and they're getting nice fat pops, right? A lot of the companies that we are talking about, Zomato, Policy Bazaar, all the guys that you're thinking about when you're thinking about it, including the ones that we are going to look at, all of them are 10 billion plus in terms of the pops that you get, after the IPOs happen. So, obviously there is a big exit that's happening in Indian markets. Also look at the huge market that India has become as a market for these companies as well, right? So thanks to the 4 horsemen that India has now running, dirt cheap broadband, zero cost of payment through systems like the UPI ecosystem, the 130 crore people market that has now been integrated thanks to the GST ecosystem, and the world's largest coding community, which is the digitization community, thanks to IT, the industry. We now have more coders than any other part of the world combined. So I think these 4 horsemen are now, in a mode to change the market itself in terms of where we are going. That's also the reason why India has surpassed in 2021 China in terms of the number of unicorns that we have created, right? We are number 2 in the world right now, right? So I think to your point, these things are already happening thanks to the inflection point that has happened in it. Finally, it seems to me it's already happening. I've seen some 3-4 large corporates, insurance companies and manufacturing companies show interest engaging with funds as well as startups. The benefit, of course, of CVCs engaging with funds is that you get the know-how of how to invest and how to scale and get valuations as compared to direct investing, which obviously has got to do with the strategic imperative that I think Varsha mentioned a little bit earlier. So I think that inflection point has been reached in the country, and thanks to the financial markets also cooperating in terms of all the slew of IPOs we are seeing, this is now going to become a story that is going to be unstoppable. I think if you were having this chat another 1 or 2 years from now, Ankur, I'm sure that we'll sort of be patting each other on our backs and saying, hey, look at how big we have become now. So I think that's where we stand.
No, absolutely. I think the enablers have come together very well, and whether it's just pure luck, whether it's a catch up from all the years of development that's happened. I think that's why I think this is the perfect storm. In many ways, if it can't be done now, I think it's going to be tough to find a reason, another reason to do this. And
so true.
Be it on talent, be it on infrastructure, be it on tech, generally just the way the stacks are working out. I think the stacks now are so integrated that you can layer and layer quickly enough and build meaningful differentiations to businesses, and therefore plug and play with what you're trying to do globally and also innovate at the same time. So absolutely, Rajiv, makes a lot of sense. Varsha, I think again data will suggest differently, I know, but at least that's what the suggestions are when you think about global India. Unfortunately, with the limited data, maybe the insight may be missing here, and sort of love to get your views on it as well. But if you saw the information that was available, for investments in India, I mean, to me, intuitively, a lot of the investments that CVCs would look to me would be strategic, would be in early businesses, helping evolve the PMF, helping supplement it, and then finding a way to integrate that into some of the things that the CVCs themselves are doing, right? But clearly, what it seems to be, a lot of the investments are actually more on the growth capital side, larger checks, and again larger businesses, where I guess the strategic impact that a lot of the CVCs can potentially make maybe more limited, at least from an outside in perspective. What's your view on that, Varsha? Again, from an ecosystem point of view, and maybe you've given the global experience that Qualcomm has. Is the evolution very similar to what it was overseas, and now we are seeing it more secular? Or what does it take for the ecosystem to really start to become more secular across the board, where CVCs really can add the strategic value that was the, I guess, the initial charter with which everyone started, and combine that with the financial outcomes that we are seeing a lot more people go towards right now? Russia.
That's a good question, Ankur. I think also that the data tracked is on dollar value. So, for example, the deals that I mentioned, Locus, both don't factor because they did not raise, the 500 millions or billion of dollars. So, I think we got to look at data of companies that were raising money in Series A and Series B, which doesn't get factored because their capital raise is much lower than the late stage deals here. So, I do believe there is CVC investments that happen at Series A and Series B stage, not just later stages of the businesses. It depends on the business model of the CVC. So Qualcomm Ventures, as a practice, we invest from Series A onwards in businesses. We have a seed program. Actually, when the practice originally started, there were no mobile deals in India. And so at that time, we used to run a program called Q Prize, which was a seed stage contest and funding program. And over time, since the industry matured, we discontinued Q Prize as a program. However, we started a program called Qualcomm Design in India Challenge, which caters to companies that provide technology predominantly driven by hardware and software. So I think every corporate figures out a niche where development needs to happen. So for Qualcomm, originally it was in the mobile application development space. Now there is a big void still in the hardware space. So we run a program called QDIC. I think Rajiv came from Geo. Geo has a Geo Next accelerator. So you will see every corporate having a specific program addressing the ecosystem where we see void in terms of interest or expertise in that segment. In terms of going forward, for every CVC, there'll be a mix of whether it is a seed stage investment philosophy or a growth stage investment philosophy. For Qualcomm, we do the early stage through the accelerator, and then the venture practice focuses on Series A onward companies. And again, it stays very focused on the investment canvas of mobility. And there we do look for companies where we can help them either with go to market, product development, as well as business development around the world. So there's a lot of focus in terms of ensuring that we can bring our unique insight from around the world in terms of is this product interesting, not just in India, but around the world, and how can we help with the go to market muscle or business development muscle from Qualcomm. I hope that answers your
No, that
question.
does, Varsha. Thanks. No, no, elaborate, and thanks for that. Rajiv, we were talking about Indian internet businesses themselves now becoming venture firms in some way, setting up their own business. We've seen Dream 11 with Dream Sports has already announced it. Lenskart is doing it. Shiprocket is doing it. Razorpay is doing it. Zerodha with Rainmatter is doing it. So clearly, I think there is this entire evolution of companies which are looking to, and to Varsha's point as well, these will be probably focused to some of their domains, and the idea is to expand and support their domains such that the ecosystem evolves. From a VC lens, when you look at it, Rajiv, how do you see some of these investors coming onto cap tables where you're also investors? Clearly, one relevant question everyone thinks about is this really a path from minority to majority, and therefore is there an M&A play here? And therefore, what does this mean to me as a company when I look at a next round of funding or a large round of funding or a strategic conversation partnership years down? How do you see that? And I guess the next question, given the exit environment that we are seeing, obviously you spoke about IPOs, we know certainly about consolidation as well, but do you see the Series Cs evolving as an important exit opportunities even for early investors, angels, early seed investors as well?
Thank you. So I think if I were to sort of look at how I would look at that lens, I would sort of look at it and say, okay, so if I'm a CVC, what should I be doing next? And one question that you can clearly ask yourself is, should I be investing directly or should I be investing indirectly through a fund, for instance, right? And I think the global numbers on that are sort of evenly split. I think the American numbers sort of put it at 50 to 55% through funds and 45 to 50% through directs, right? So I think that those are the numbers, at least from what I've been able to read. So both options work. Obviously, for corporates, a direct investment, sort of has got 2 or 3 angles associated with it. I think Varsha has spoken quite strongly about it. One is really how much it fits into the corporate imperative that you're in. The second thing is how needle moving is that in terms of the revenue that startup brings to the table. If you're a large entity, obviously that number can be quite large. So obviously you're limited to the number of companies that you can sort of buy that move the needle on revenue terms. So that's one. Obviously, that precludes a whole range of technologies at early stage that they might need access to, or that might sort of hit them from the side, be blindsided, which is, I think, the point we made earlier on the conversation. So that's where perhaps they can sort of leverage of the funds, right? The second part, I think, is really about how CVCs are able to sort of continue to maintain value. See, at the end of the day, you're investing in these companies as a financial valuation, financial asset, right? And the idea is when you're investing in a financial asset, you also need to build that asset's valuation and make it grow, and you need to exit it at some point in time to make money out of it, because that's a money making entity that your proposition that you're getting into. There, I think funds might have a slightly bigger edge, because that's the business. So funds take money from investors. Their job is to return that money back to investors and raise further funds. So their incentives are completely everything is aligned towards making sure that that valuation multiple is something that they're able to accomplish. So that's something that I think the CVCs can look to funds to understand how to create valuations, how to create exits, since they are not a part of their main P&L functions and their main revenue generation mechanisms. So that, I think, is one more angle that I think the CVCs can look at. To your specific question about can CVCs be good exit partners, I think absolutely yes. But I think we are now looking at a large market where a lot of these companies are now turning around and saying, hey, what is my story here? Should I sort of get into an exit mode as far as I'm concerned, or should I sort of continue to build a big story there? And I think the big question for those exit modes also have to do with how much the CVC is able to keep an arm's length relationship with these startups in terms of partnering, right? So there is a reason why the corporate has been highly successful. It has figured out how to play in the market that it's playing in, and it has done a fabulous job of playing that market, right? But those reasons why it's so successful in its traditional markets might not be the same reasons that might work elsewhere, right? So if I were looking at, as you said, Ankur, you mentioned briefly in the passing what is happening in the DeFi movement right now, the decentralized finance world. That's all crypto, all those NFT, Bitcoin, blockchain, that ecosystem, that's completely wild west right now, and you might want to give them a little bit of an arm's length, and of course some innovation from there could come around and surprise you in your mainstream business and make it work very well. So I think that's something that you need to think about in terms of how you'll also look at partnering with them when you acquire them. Do you give them what kind of freedom do you give them? What kind of integration do you give? And of course, the parts that you can actually help them with, which is basically leverage, reach, your ability to give them access to those consumers across the world, your ability to give them more skills and more resources that they can play with, maybe sandboxes that they can create. Those are things that obviously work very well for them. I think all of these sort of come together. So there is obviously a reason why this can work in multiple ways. And to my mind, I think the more interested the CVC gets in this ecosystem, and I think Varsha mentioned something either in the main event or before in the room when we were sitting in the back. It's essentially you need to have leadership buy-in here, right? So if you have the corporate leadership inside the corporation saying, yes, I buy this, I believe this, and I want to make this happen, that's, I think, the most critical part for the CVC to become highly successful in this game. And the ones that have been successful have done that brilliantly. I think that would be the sort of thing that you could think about.
No, thanks, Rajiv. I think well put together. I think, just conscious of time, Varsha, there's one question from the audience that and Yuvraj, thanks for asking. The question was on how can CVCs play a bigger role in impact investments? And clearly it is topical at this point of time, but how do you see that evolving, Varsha?
I think we already have some in India, Ankur. So you have, again, it comes back to the charter of the corporate. And we do see impact investments driven in India from foundations like Gates or Dell Foundation and others. So I do see that there is interest, and you will see more dollars going in that area overall. Impact investing is not a specific charter for us, and so we have not been very active in that area. But I do see others who have a charter in impact investing being very active in India, Ankur.
No, absolutely, Varshad. And we've seen some of those, especially in the COVID times, and some of the aid and the investments that have come through. But also as we look at broader newer technologies, clean tech, etc., I'm sure some of this will certainly come through in a much larger way than it has before. But I think just we're out of time. Varsha, Rajiv, again, appreciate the insights. I think it was great speaking with both of you, and love to catch up. Rajiv.
One small point I wanted to make. I'm sure there is one question in people's minds as to what do I do next coming out of this, right? So one suggestion I would have for you folks perhaps is to reach out to the IVCA, the Venture Capital Association. So this is more a plug for the association, which is an ecosystem player. This is not a plug for me or the fund, so don't worry about that. But there should be, if this were a physical event, I would point to Sunita Prasad in the audience and say, Sunita, can you stand up and wave your hands? But I mean, folks, if you can reach out to her, I'm sure you can find her. I'm sure she'll be happy to help you sort of progress in this journey. I just thought I should make that small plug. Sorry if I've sort of exceeded my remit here, Ankur.
No, absolutely, Rajiv. It's great you mentioned that, because I think this is an important part of the overall IVC agenda as well. And I think, as I said earlier, these two are converging more and more now. So point well made. So thanks so much again, Rajiv, Varsha. Appreciate it, and love the insights. And also to the IVCA team and next, and looking forward to sort of engaging more. Kanish, thanks. Back to you.
Thank you, Ankur, Rajiv and Varsha. Great having you guys here and learning more on the CVC landscape. Also, special mention to IVCA to help us put this together, bringing you guys on board and having you talk here. Great insights, and thank you, everyone. Also, we have some amazing corporate reverse pitches coming up next, so stay tuned for that.
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you.